How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. So the Yankees made a little bit of a bullpen move today. As we know, their strategy recently has been essentially to go and sign free agents, go and claim guys off of waivers, really cheap solutions to a unit that has been plummeting down the standings. I know Michael Tonkin gave up a run yesterday, which is like the first time in a while, but for the most part, this bullpen has been volatile and inconsistent over the last month or month and a half. I do think that Brian Cashman is going to allocate some resources there at the trade deadline. This team is going to get back guys like Ian Hamilton and Scott Efros, maybe Lou Trevino, Cody Poteet, Clark Schmidt. We have arms on the way back. It's just a matter of how we're going to deploy them and utilize them. I could see, Cody Poteet being a really key bullpen arm. I could see Clark Schmidt or somebody even, going into the bullpen. Rodon, I don't even know what to say anymore. Looks like he just figured out that he shouldn't be throwing a lot of fastballs in the first inning because he's given up 4 or 5 runs in the first inning, setting his team back immediately into a deficit. I know that's a discussion for another day, but today the Yankees went out and signed Tim Mayza, former Toronto Star bullpen arm. Now, he was really good last year. This year has fallen off. We're going to break down his numbers if there's any value to be had. I think there might be, actually. I want to talk about that. But, Ryan, before we dive into Mayza, how you feeling? And give me your 30 seconds about Carlos Rodon's performance yesterday, which is obviously another disappointing one.
Carlos Rodon intentionally put his team in a position to lose because he knows his fastball isn't that good. So my 30 seconds is Carlos Rodon, in a stretch where the Yankees need to win, didn't give his team the best chance to win. Perhaps intentionally is a little harsh, but he doesn't do what you need to do to win games, and that's unacceptable. Like, that's the kind of shit that, that's unacceptable. Like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. But getting to Tim Mayza, his velo's down. That's like the best way to describe why he's not as good, right? Like, his sinker velo, which is a fastball, is down over about a mile and a half. Very weird because, yes, he's 32, and, sure, that's not young, but it's certainly a weird age to just randomly lose it, right? Maybe he's dealing with some sort of injury, maybe some sort of fatigue, maybe it's a mechanical inefficiency that the Blue Jays were not capable of finding. But I'm more than fine with signing this guy to a minor league deal because he was so good last year. It's a minor league deal. Yankees don't even have to put him on the 40-man roster. Ground ball connoisseur, right? Like, he does a lot of things really well. Sure, the command isn't great, but, again, I mean, the guy, how do I describe it? It's like it's like Zach Britton a few years back, except actually the walk rate's a little better, but the home run prevention not as good. It's still really good, to clarify. He's a really good sinker baller. He just hasn't been this year. And look, if he sucks this year and he's not good at the minor league level, you're not able to get the velo up, oh, well, it's a minor league contract. The Yankees lose no money. This is a no-risk deal. Why not try it? So, I see people all the time going, oh, Brian Cashman just dumpster dives for bullpen arms. Well, you can't trade for Mason Miller on July 10th, nor will they be trading for Mason Miller, in my opinion. But, I mean, Alex, we've seen them. Look, they've turned some guys into Michael Tonkin or Tim Hill have been pretty good, and other guys have unfortunately turned out to be like a Dennis Santana, right? Don't get me wrong, there are certainly misses, but it's not like he's on the major league roster, right? There are so many things to be pissed about. I couldn't imagine being pissed if they just threw a flyer at Tim Mayza. I actually think, and I think you're going to get into this because you wrote the article on him. I didn't really get to do a deep dive on him yet. I think there's upside here, and I like upside.
I really do think there's upside here. And, I was looking at his numbers before. Obviously, the 8.03 ERA does not, scream efficiency. 24.2 innings this season. He's only 32. He's not that old. But really, what happened to him that made him so bad to start this year? Well, the velocity was a little bit lower. His ground ball rate has plummeted about 20%. Now, I still think there's value here, though. I don't know why, but I think that the Yankees may be able to get something here. Now, he does rank in the first percentile, which is the opposite end of where you want it to be in expected ERA and expected batting average, and the second percentile in whiff rate and strikeout rate. By those metrics, he certainly has been one of the worst pitchers this season, but he's changed his pitch usage a little bit. He's been going more, for years now, more towards his slider and further away from his sinker, probably because of that drop in velocity. But interestingly, the movement is fine. He actually has one more inch of vertical drop, and his horizontal break is still pretty in line with his margins throughout his career. The slider, same thing, decent. The velocity looks pretty decent. Movement looks decent. I just think he lost his control. You know what I mean? I don't think it's anything more than he's not locating the baseball well. The velocity, a drop of 1.5 miles per hour on the sinker is certainly to something to be concerned about if you're Mayza. I mean, like, okay, like I'm not getting that same juice, but if the Yankees can build that up in the minors and AAA over the next couple of weeks and maybe get it, I think it was at 93 and a half or 93, now it's at 91 and a half. Maybe you can get that to 92, 92 and a half and maintain that movement. I don't think that Mayza can't be a decent, just fill in low leverage starter, mid leverage starter, bullpen piece for you. I think the movement is still there. I think that, he's just not locating it well. The ground ball, obviously, when it comes to your sinker, you want to get that ball moving down below into the bottom half of the zone to create those ground ball opportunities. Because that sinking, that driving down action, I think he's elevating it maybe too much. I don't know what you're seeing in here, but to me, the velocity is really the only thing here, and the accuracy of the location that are not trending in the right direction. But accuracy, he might be able to get more. He might be able to get that control back, with a couple of tweaks. Maybe the Yankees can find something. Where do you see Mayza in terms of looking at his numbers and stats? How do you kind of visualize how he can get back to being a productive bullpen arm? He's only 32. Remember that. He's not like terribly old, and he's been really good for a long time. Do you think there is a path back here for him?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say again, it's the velo, right? Like, can he throw? Can he like sit 92 and a half, right? Like, I know last year sat 93.1, 93.4, somewhere in that range. Just going off the top of my head, I could literally just click StatCast. Yeah, 93.4. So, and my phone fell. Thank you. But anyways, get the velo up just a little bit, right? Like a 1.5 mile per hour drop is really dramatic. You go from average velocity as a lefty to well below as a lefty. It's pretty significant. Again, I don't think Mayza's a bad flyer worth taking. I could think of a million worse flyers worth taking. As you mentioned a year ago, he was really, really good. Not just good, like one of the best left-handed relievers in baseball. And Mayza need relief help. Look, he'll get to go to AAA. We'll actually get to track his velo because they have StatCast down there. So we'll get to see if the velo climbs up a little bit. But again, I'd have to say it's gotta be the velo. It's all gotta be the velo. I think movement improves with velocity as well, right? Like if you throw a pitch harder, it's probably gonna move a little bit more. And it's interesting. His sinker is getting a little more drop. Slider's getting a little less drop. That's not great. But I really do think it just comes down to, can he get some extra velo on it? Now, I do. It's weird because we don't really get biomechanical data. Biomechanics, by the way, for those kind of like this, the fancy way of saying we don't know how his body moves, right? Like we can't really compare it this year to last year with accuracy because we don't have that data, right? Like the eye test is really bad. And if you hear my clicking, it's because I'm trying to get release points and see if anything changed from this year and last year on the sinker. Because if there's something that changed there, maybe the Yankees could get him back to the right arm slot. If you think about like rotational force, right? Like your body's supposed to move a certain way, and you can generate more force moving it a certain way. So his release height's actually a little lower, not by enough for me to say it's something dramatic, but maybe the Yankees see something there. I don't know. Maybe he's fatigued. Maybe he's hurt. Like maybe the Yankees discover the guy's hurt and they're like, oh, he's hurt. That's why he sucks. And then, the minor league contract establishes some form of connection that, when he's healthy again, they can bring him back. I don't know. But I mean, the Yankees need bullpen depth. The bullpen stinks. Like, I hate to be that guy, but they really suck. They really suck, Alex. They really do.
Yeah, we're hoping to get some value, anything really, out of Mayza. But then as I referenced earlier, this team is getting reinforcements in a couple of weeks, probably after the All-Star break here. Efros is in his rehab assignment in AAA. Lou Trevino, obviously, is still working his way back and rehabbing from his injury. And Clark Schmidt, Cody Poteet, Ian Hamilton, there are arms ready, on their way back over the next couple of weeks. But this team is plummeting. Like, it's not just a slow fall. It is a free fall. They are free falling down the standings right now. By the time that the All-Star break gets here in a couple days, they might be closer where the Boston Red Sox are in the standings than where, the Orioles are right now. So, I do believe that this team needs to make serious improvements. They have to go the extra mile. Cashman, I know yesterday he said he's going to be open-minded to any possibilities. Now, he did talk about Gleyber, he did talk about, and he threw him a bone. And here's the thing, though, I can't stand this level of, slack that sometimes they give their players. And he threw Gleyber the biggest bone ever. He gave him the same bone that Harrison Bader had and the same bone that Luis Severino had. And basically what he said was, they're in a contract year and the pressure is higher, right? If you can't perform and the pressure's too high in a contract year, how, and excuse my language, how the hell are you expected to perform in the playoffs? Right? How the hell are you expected to perform in the playoffs when you can't even perform when you are in a position to make a stupendous amount of money? Right? Is that not the most motivating factor there is? $20 million per season? Pressure, bro, I'm balling out, man. That's the difference between guys that succeed long term in the MLB and guys that end up fizzling out over the course of a couple of seasons, because you cannot shit the bed in a contract year. If that's the excuse we're giving Gleyber Torres, what the hell are we doing here? Right? Can you trust him in the postseason if he can't perform over a large sample size of games? We're talking 162 freaking MLB games, and we can't trust him to be efficient, to be in line with his career average. He's having the worst season of his career, not even by a significant margin. And Brian Cashman's out here throwing him bones because he's in a contract year and there's pressure. Luis Severino wasn't good last year because he was coming off Tommy John surgery, not because he was in a contract year. Harrison Bader has never been a good offensive player. Never. He's been a sub 100 WRC plus player forever, but an elite defender. Everybody knew that. Everyone's always known that, right? This throwing, bones to players and giving them slack and giving them ways out of consequences. I'm so freaking tired of it, right? Hold these guys accountable. Like I said, expecting Gleyber Torres to not perform in a contract year when he's in line to make $20+ million per season, and how are you supposed to rely on this guy in the playoffs when the pressure's much higher than that, right? Ryan, maybe you have something to say about that, but that quote pissed me off because it makes no logical sense to me.
Yeah, so in my eyes, a couple of things. Number one, I will say with the Cashman Gleyber quote, it is important for him to not tank Gleyber's value publicly, because if they choose to trade him, like, I've said this a few times regarding his trade value, like, remember when Gallo got traded, and it's unfortunate, Beater might miss the rest of the season because he was really balling out in AAA. I thought he really had a chance to, at least stick in a bullpen role up here. But Clayton Beater is a legitimate MLB prospect. He's an actual living, breathing human being who can actually contribute at the major league level. Granted, when healthy, and currently he's not healthy. That's what they got for Joey Gallo, who hadn't been good in a year and a half, or not a year and a half. It's gonna be a year basically, because half a year with the Yankees in 21 and half a year with the Yankees in 22. Gleyber was good last year, right? Gleyber was good last year. Really good last year throughout the year, and got better throughout the second half. Does he have more, if not at the very least, similar trade value to Joey Gallo, especially in a seller's market? I think so. I think a team in need of second base help would be willing to trade you their 24th, 23rd, 22nd, maybe best prospect. I'm saying maybe, I'm not saying definitely. And that's value. Maybe you can flip that prospect in a deal to kind of finish off another trade that gets you something you need. Who knows? We can't run back the same, we can't be a very similar team going into the second half, right? Second base, third base, relievers, starters. I would like another starter. I would like another bullpen arm. I would like an infielder, and then maybe you call up a guy like Jordan Vivas to kind of add to that. But they cannot look at this deadline. What they did in 22, if you remember, with IKF and Josh Donaldson, neither of the two were really replaced. Oswald Peraza came up and was more of a part-time player. And granted, Peraza's never panned out to be a good player, but that year he was pretty good for us down the stretch. And I don't know, I just think that he should have played a little more that during that stretch. I think he should have played more and become the starter so that they didn't throw him out randomly in Game 2 of the ALCS out of literally nowhere. They've got two infielders who aren't doing it for them. They need to replace those two infielders, right? They've got a pitcher in Rodon who's not doing it for them. They have to replace that starting pitcher. We can't look at guys who, quite honestly, do not have attractive profiles moving forward and say, yeah, they're going to turn it around. Because they're probably not. It's probably not going to happen. Rodon maybe he actually changes his pitch usage, but I don't know, the guy's had 4 starts and he still does the same fucking thing, so I don't know. And then Alex, Lil Mayhew, he's played better the last 3 games, but he's so slow, dude. He's so slow. He's hilariously slow, man. And then Gleyber just hasn't hit for pop. So Alex, I just don't want to be in the same position we were in 22. We're free fall. Don't replace 2 really big reasons you were free falling and then expect to get better, right? Because that's not really how that works.
No, it is certainly not how it works. And, right now, we all know this team needs improvements. Obviously, we got you guys covered as the trade deadline approaches in a couple weeks, July 30th. We have 20 days to make some moves. And, you'll get all your information here on Fireside Yankees. Obviously, on social media, we have it out instantly. Articles out on Empire Sports Media instantly. So make sure to keep checking the website and make sure to keep checking the social media accounts for any updates on this New York Yankees team. As always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe, drop your comments down below, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.